Dad, why do we have servants?
This is because we all have different positions in society. I was born to be an aristocrat, and the servant was born to be a servant. The Han Dynasty was founded in 206 BC by Emperor Wu Ti.
The Han Dynasty was again dominated by Confucianism, but Taoism was on the rise.
Confucianism gained wide recognition in the face of the Han emperors. Under their rule, Confucian teachings permeated throughout society, especially emphasizing on social order and having an admirable ruler.
In the Han Dynasty, Taoism was not an official philosophy yet. Taoism stresses the harmonious relationship between nature, humanity, and the divine, and both are concerned with appropriate behavior and ways of leading and governing others.
Confucian teachings permeate all aspects of society. In the Analects, Confucians quote Confucius: "Lead the people with administrative injunctions and put them in their place with penal law, and they will avoid punishments that will be without a sense of shame. Lead them with excellence and put them in their place through rules and ritual practices, and in addition to developing a sense of shame, they will order themselves harmoniously."
The Taoist leader, Lao Tzu, was only born less than 700 years before this incident. Therefore, Lao Tzu's practices were more of a small cult than an actual religion.
The five classics, five ancient texts associated with Confucius, were established as the basis for the imperial civil service examinations in 136 BC, instituted by Wu Ti. The Han emperors followed the rigid social structure outlined in the Analects. Also, Lao Tzu was a follower of Confucius himself. In the Analects, it is noticed that Confucius advocated patriarchy. The master said, "Women are small. If you get too close to them, they become uncompliant, and if you stay too distant, they become resentful."
However, in Taoism, there was a belief that social hierarchies supported by the Confucians were causing suffering in humanity, and that there was a method to stop social structures so that humanity can return to humanity. The Tang Dynasty was formed on June 18, 618, as Li Yuan declared himself the emperor of a new dynasty, the Tang.
The Tang Dynasty was also the second largest and longest enduring empire in the region after the Han Empire, and the capital was in Chang'an.
Many great inventions came up during this dynasty.
Woodblock printing and gunpowder were invented, as the borders of the Tang Dynasty expanded far into Korea and Central Asia. China became even larger during the Tang Dynasty than it had been before the Han.
During Tang's most flourished period, there were more than 50 million people living in China. All these people were separated into 8 very specific social classes.
The emperor was at the top, and the aristocracy was the next in the social hierarchy, followed by the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy was divided into separate levels of honor, the scholars, and the functionaries. The eunuchs came next in the social hierarchy as they functioned as servants in the emperor's palace. The clergy were above the peasants, who in turn were higher in the hierarchy than the artisans and traders. Slaves were the lowest in the Tang Dynasty's social structure.
Though the Taoist beliefs reject social constructs, the Tao Te Ching lists how a ruler should rule, showing that even though they did not appreciate the government, they recognized that some form of society was necessary.
The Tao Te Ching was very specific on a ruler's jobs, from his virtue to its foreign policies that he should implement.
In fact, it says that the nation should be like a female animal. Females often lie low and still, meaning that Lao Tzu, in a way, supported some form of isolationist nation.
Still, the Tang hierarchy differed from the earliest Taoist order, which was more religious, concerning clergy and libationers.
The Li family was the first ones to rule the whole of the Tang Dynasty, and they emerged as powerful rulers in the time of chaos of the collapse of the Sui Dynasty.
Emperor Li Shimin was the most famous emperor at the time, as he killed 2 of his brothers to gain the throne. At the time, Emperor Li promoted Buddhism, but Confucianism and Taoism survived in the streets. The Li royal family favored Taoism in the middle years of the dynasty, as their last name matched with Lao Tzu's name.
That's right, the emperor built temples and schools for me, so more peasants can know about me.
Neo-Confucianism, or New Confucianism, also rose about this point, as Taoist principles and ideas fused together with Confucianism.
However, in the late years of the Tang Dynasty, Buddhism took over Confucianism and Taoism altogether and became the dominant religion.
There were a few reasons why the Tang Dynasty declined.
First, different groups of people with different ideas separated. For example, the court officials of Tang were mainly made up of two groups. One group was from the traditional noble class, while the other group came from the civilian class. Due to different class origin and political status, these two groups respectively formed their own parties. In order to rise up and take over the other group, disputes and power struggles happened, and eventually leads to the downfall of the central regime.
That's it for the Tang Dynasty.
During the Qin Dynasty to the Qing Dynasty, people of China was divided into four broad classes.
The Shi, aristocrats, the Nong, farmers, the Gong, artisans, and the Shang, merchants.
Except for the position of the emperor, no position in social classes were hereditary, so there was opportunity for social mobility.
Let's look deeper into each class.
The Shi were officials and soldiers who were well educated who had a lot of rights, including entering into government of various levels such as district, provincial, and federal levels.
They wore silk robes in an identification of their status. They also had rights to ride in chariots, carry weapons, and command battles.
Next, the Nong are people who worked in the field. Not exactly wealthy, but extremely important to China.
They were farmers who provide food to the other classes, and were considered valuable by other classes.
These farmers provided services to other classes, and some revenue to the country.
The Gong were next on the list.
The Gong were artisans and craftsmen. They were higher in position than that of the merchants, and they worked in either the government sectors or the private sectors.
Many artisans also worked on their independent businesses. They were involved in various types of jobs, such as producing textiles, potteries, and worked in various architectural works. They were valued because of their specific skills.
The Shang was last in the social ladder.
They were merchants, and they couldn't then produce anything that gained profit from other organizations. This particular social class is comprised of shopkeepers, bankers, sellers, and traders. They lived in towns and provided goods and services to the landowner. People in this class were not allowed to apply for government jobs.
The above four classes were strongly prevalent during the dynastic periods of China. With time, the classes also exhibited reformation in structures. Over time, the merchant class earned more due to the advancement of the trade industry. The attitudes of people about the social classes also changed along the way.
However, the general social class didn't change much throughout history.
During the Qing Dynasty, the lower classes of ordinary people were divided into two categories. One of them was good common people and others were mean people.
Prostitutes, entertainers, and low-level government employees were people in the mean class. The mean people were heavily discriminated against, forbidden to take the imperial examination, and mean and good people could not marry each other.
You can compare these people to the untouchables in the Hindu caste system.
What is the Taoist social order like?
Well, the social order was more like a religious hierarchy. There were four classes: the demon soldiers, demon clergy, liberationers, and the head libationer.
These names sound strange. Why is it so?
Well, the first two classes were called demons because they were lowly and merely servants in the religious hierarchy.
The first social class, the demon soldiers, were common in Taoist followers who attended Taoist services, but held no real power in the Taoist community.
Well, the second social class, the demon clergy, was people who had devoted themselves to religion and were specialized in interpreting the holy books.
They're much like pastors or monks in the church.
The third class, the libationer, was in charge of sacrifices and leading practices and rituals. They sometimes even served in government positions.
The final class, the head libationer, was a religious leader in the community and was believed to be the one who can interpret the divine and the supernatural.
That is basically the Taoist social hierarchy.